Welcome back. Now remember, you can also watch us online, especially if you're on the go at www.bernama.com or via our Facebook page live. Now for more on the platform business, we talked to Mr. Vipin Kalra, CEO of BankBazaar International. Mr. Kalra, welcome to Bernama Studios. How are you today?
Thank you very much. Very well, thank you.
So I understand that BankBazaar International is listed as among the top 100 fintech companies providing financial inclusion by the International Finance Corporation, and you have started the Malaysian operations Bazaar Malaysia just early this year.
Yes.
Okay. So before we talk about the impact on Malaysia, how do you actually define a platform economy?
Good question. A platform economy is defined by the economic or a transactional activity that occurs on a platform that is chosen by the consumer, where the consumer goes straight without needing to search for things or goods or services that they're looking for. So the examples of platform economy could be the economic transactions that happen on the platforms like Amazon, WeChat, AliExpress and Taobao in China, and many such platforms that are typically known for e-commerce activities.
Okay.
BankBazaar, or as we call it in Malaysia, BBazaar, is a similar platform which facilitate a transactional activity for consumers, where consumers can come and seek for financial services and financial product.
Okay. So how big are you? Are you in India? How big is the business now through BankBazaar International?
So the BankBazaar was started in India.
Okay.
So we are almost 9 to 10-year-old company in India.
Okay.
It was formed in India 10 years ago as a very small company with a very small idea.
Okay.
However, that idea grew to an extent where we are #1 in India in terms of a marketplace that provides financial services to consumers.
I see.
In last 12 months, we saw about 300 million consumers came to our platform through our online channel.
So now you're sort of branching out. So you've come to Malaysia. So the question is, what will be the impact of platform business on the Malaysian economy? So basically, what would be the digital trends that we can look out for? Is it?
Yeah, it's a very interesting point. I think let me just set the context in terms of how I see Malaysia first, and then we can talk about where the future trend might take us. Malaysia has a very vibrant economy. Consumers are very, very savvy. If you look at the adoption of internet and smartphones, 70% of consumers in Malaysia are have a smartphone and connected through internet 24/7. Okay. Half of the citizens in Malaysia are now already transacting on internet through an e-commerce transaction. I can only see this trend growing at a much rapid pace. We're seeing a 20% year-on-year growth in e-commerce. I don't see any reason why that should slow down any further.
I see. So basically, in the region, where does Malaysia rank as far as the platform economy is concerned? Are we on top?
I think Malaysia is somewhere in the middle. Okay. We have mature platform economies like India, where both retail platform and financial services platform are very popular. Okay. China is also a very mature economy, where again the retail and financial services platforms are very popular. Australia could be again one of the mature markets. Yeah. On the other hand of the spectrum, we have the Southeast Asian markets, where the likes of Indonesia, Vietnam, Thailand, where they're still coming up, and really the growth I'm seeing in those markets is quite spectacular. Malaysia sits somewhere in the middle. Okay. We can see a huge momentum building up, but we're not there yet.
Okay. So basically, what are the most obvious and significant changes in consumer behavior that has led to the proliferation of the platform economy? And maybe you can bring in fintechs and the changes in banking business, as far as the consumer is concerned in Malaysia.
Yeah. So some of the key trends that we are observing across all markets, but particularly in Malaysia as well, are that the consumers are getting more and more savvy when it comes to shopping behavior. One of the McKinsey's study clearly sort of articulated that even in financial services today, 90% of the consumers that are looking for financial services like to shop around first, looking for the best deal. Okay. They're also looking for financial institution who can provide their services to a consumer based on right here, right now, through any channel and the platform of their preference. Okay. So in other words, I want to have a financial product delivered to me the way I like it, and when I like it,
Okay.
right? So that leads to the question of what does it mean for the banks? Well, the banks will have to go where the consumers are going. Financial institutions have done a very good job in terms of enhancing their own platform, but they have to follow where the consumers are going. And if consumers are following the trend where they are moving more and more towards the platform economy, in other words, marketplaces like BankBazaar or Amazon or Ali type of platform, then banks will have to follow consumers.
But does this mean that conventional banks will be given a run for their money? Because in China, I think fintechs make up for a sizable bulk of the transactions. In Malaysia, I think many of the banks are still conservative. They are quite suspicious of these fintechs and all that. So how will be the trend like, there will have to come a time and they have to work with fintechs?
Yeah, well, I think China is an interesting example. It's a case study for the rest of the world where things moved so fast. And in my opinion, the financial industry, particularly financial institutions like banks, didn't move as fast. And what happened is suddenly the trend shifted towards the platforms, and the banks were kind of taken or caught off guard, right? I think we can all learn from that example. Banks in Malaysia can certainly take a leaf out of the chapter and say, let's make sure we don't let that happen in this market. In other words, let's make sure we don't fall behind too much, right? Yes, we have some of our challenges, such as the legacy platforms and some of our compliance and business sort of challenges. However, we must make sure that we keep consumer in the center of everything we do. We must follow where the consumers are going, and we must provide consumer the way they want services to be delivered to them.
Indeed, Mr. Kalra, because we need to talk more about the platform business, especially what customers can look forward to with the advancement of the digital economy. But hold your thoughts. We'll take a short break and we'll be back after these messages. Don't go away. Welcome back. We are talking to Mr. Vipin Kalra. He is the CEO of BankBazaar International on the platform business and what is taking place in Malaysia. So, Mr. Kalra, can you give some practical examples of what is the frictionless banking experience?
I'm sorry that I have to give examples from outside of Malaysia.
Okay.
Some of the great examples that I've seen, of course, we are part of some of these experiences, is in India, where India was so far behind, at least I think about 3 or 5 years ago. The whole banking experience for consumers was so heavily paper-driven, and it was such a slow process that the consumers just didn't know what to do with it. As a result, we see a very slow penetration of consumers into financial services and lower penetration of digital sort of channels in India. What Indian government did and the regulators did in the last 5 years is created a framework for both banks and third-party platforms like BankBazaar to take advantage of the digital identity of a consumer and therefore digitize the whole banking process for consumer. For example, if I go to a bank today in India and I want to apply for a credit card, for example, I can totally apply all my application. I can complete my application. I can provide my identity proof. I can even provide my signature online to a bank through our platform in a totally frictionless fashion. And in few minutes, you can get an approval straight away.
And you don't have to get stuck in traffic jams and all that.
Exactly.
But fintechs undoubtedly provide more efficient services. So the question is, how should Malaysian banks proceed in partnering with fintechs and digital companies and all that? Do they hold back? Do they partner with them? Do they acquire them? To go in the path of digital economy?
I think some of the key challenges that which we have seen across the world, and Malaysia is no different, for financial institutions and banks, is that what slows banks down is the legacy platform. That their own infrastructure is old, and it takes time for them to upgrade their technology platform. The other thing that also slows down is the very rigid compliance and business rules within the bank. And those things have not been looked into for many, many years. So if banks can take advantage of what fintech is doing, the interesting thing is when a fintech company comes into a market, they look at from outside in from an outsider point of view and look into the market and say where the pain points are for consumer. And they pick up those pain points and create solutions that are very customer centric. They don't have to worry about the legacy technology issues. They don't have to worry about the legacy business rules. They can redefine everything. Now, this is where I think there is a huge opportunity for banks. Those who think that it would take them years and millions of dollars to develop their own sort of capabilities, they can very quickly test with a fintech company. And if it works, they can potentially deploy that fintech company solution as well in the short term while they develop their own.
Because some of them might be very worried or concerned that dealing with fintech, they might lose market share, they might lose the business. No? Are their concerns justified?
I don't think so. I think it is a natural reaction from someone who hasn't looked into the detail to say, well, this could be a threat for me. If somebody is trying to do what I used to do, this could be a threat. However, in case of a fintech, I think it's an opportunity for banks because if someone has done a great job in terms of understanding customer and created a solution that really revolves around the customer's need and delivers something which takes away some of the pains in customers' experience, it's a great opportunity for banks to say, hey, I'm going to embrace that.
Okay. Anyway, Mr. Kalra, while digital technology, platform economies and fintech companies are inevitable, the question is how do we ensure security, because there have been numerous cases of data breaches and all that. So as it happened in Malaysia and the United States and your data and all that. So how do you, can you give that guarantee, you know?
Well, I think it's a very important question. It must be discussed in every conversation that we must have with fintech or in terms of anything that happens online.
Actually.
I mean, the consumers are genuinely concerned about the privacy of their data. I think that, let me break it down into three parts. The data is being captured without the knowledge of consumer in many cases. The data is being stored in an unsecure environment, and data is being misused without the customer consent. I think these are the three key problems we have. On the first point, the capture issue, well, frankly, I think the train has left the station in that case. The consumers have already given, either knowingly or unknowingly, a lot of the data, and it's already out in the public. So I'm not sure how much we can do about that. However, what we can do about the other two parts is that we can secure the environment where we keep it very securely. So in case of BankBazaar, we are ISO 27000 compliant company, which means this is the highest standard you can ever get for any information security.
Okay, Mr. Kalra, BankBazaar, what are your expansion plans in Malaysia against all this backdrop and the opportunities for digital banking and fintech?
Look, we have a very high aspiration. We think that Malaysia is a very promising market for us. And for any platform like ours where the consumers are ready and the financial industry is also ready, we are already in discussions with a number of partner banks in Malaysia. We have already signed a couple of them, and we are just about to go live with a few more banks. Our vision is that we should be able to offer all consumer financial services through our platform across the whole market, so consumers can choose which bank they want to go to, which product is more suitable for them, and it can all happen in a most convenient and frictionless manner to a consumer who might be in a very remote location in Malaysia.
So you started operations in?
We started operation in January.
Okay, so how far have you progressed as far as marketing is concerned and getting customers on board?
Yeah, so we have a few, as I said, we have a number of banks already active with us, and we are talking to a number of more. Our goal is that over the next sort of 12 to 18 months, we want to make sure that we partner with all the banks. And then we move across the unsecured lending products to secure lending products such as home loan, and then we move into life insurance product, and then eventually investments and deposit products. So we would like to cover the entire financial services suite for consumers. And we want to be the marketplace where consumers can trust the brand and say, I trust BBazaar, and therefore I'm going to go to BBazaar for my next financial services or product.
Briefly, what about competition? Is there a lot of competition from other players from maybe Australia or China in Malaysia?
Look, competition is everywhere. Competition comes in different forms. There are lots of comparison websites. I don't believe anyone is as capable of providing end-to-end service to a consumer as we do. So therefore, we think we have a very unique advantage in this market and every other market we touch.
Okay, and very interesting indeed, Mr. Kalra, and then I think a lot of things to talk about digital economy, and there's a lot of opportunities in Malaysia. I think exciting times for Malaysia, but we'll have to wait and see, that. Very interesting indeed. But we have come to the end of these segments, and thank you, Mr. Kalra, for your time. Appreciate you having just flew in from Singapore for this interview. And good luck on your Malaysian operations. We'll take a short break, and when we return, we will talk to Muhammad Zaidi from the Malaysian Association of Technical Analysts on how Bursa Malaysia and the ringgit market ended this week. Stay with us.